A lover speaks about his beloved. Blame never diverts the heart from its purpose, and loneliness deflects not the soul from the truth. A man between his heart and his soul is like a tender branch between the north and south winds. I am following you, O love. What do you seek of me? I have walked with you upon the flaming path, and when I opened my eyes, I saw naught but darkness. My lips quivered, but you let them speak only words of misery. Love, you have made my heart hungry for the sweetness of your presence, for I am weak and you are strong. Why are you struggling with me? The brooks hurry to their lover, the sea. The flowers smile at their sweetheart, the sun. The clouds descend to their suitor, the valley. I am unheard by the brooks, unseen by the flowers, unknown to the clouds. When I discovered that you are a princess, and I looked upon my poverty, I learned that God possesses a secret unrevealed to humanity, that a secret path leads the spirit to places where love may forget the customs of the earth. When I looked at your eyes, I knew that this path leads to a paradise whose door is the human heart. It's from Kahlil Gibran's A Little Book of Love, put together by Neil Douglas Klotz. We are tuned in to fitness and consciousness. Today's episode is called A Place for Contentment. I'm going to be talking about contentment and whether or not we should be content in relationships, careers, profession, which may be different than careers, hobbies, etc. I'm also going to explain Zen meditation, how to do it, and how to live it. And so let's start with a brief explanation of Zazen, which means sitting Zen. So the way that I do it, the way that I learned, is with sitting on in Seiza, Seiza, and it may be helpful for you to Google it if you're not sure. But it's basically traditional Japanese, and Indians might sit like that too, and way of sitting for meditation, and even not meditation, but so you sit in Seiza with your hands in the cosmic mudra, and different people have different names for the same mudra, the hand position. Well, basically, if you're sitting in Seiza, your fingers are like your left hand is on the right hand, palms up, and then you touch your thumbs together very, very lightly. And if you look it up, Cosmic Mudra, you'll see. But it touches on your lower abdomen in the shape of your Tantian, and right by your Tantian, which is like your center of gravity, but it also means like energy field. But even if you don't believe in like the energy field stuff at first, that's a good way. And then it can kind of work as partly like a Zen biofeedback device. Like if your thumbs start pressing together hard, or they start going out of shape, then that's a good indication that you're losing your concentration. So you should be concentrating on your posture. Your chin should be like tucked in, not a lot, but chin tucked, and your eyes are looking down, not really focused, but looking at about 2 feet down. So between your eyes and the floor might start to like swirl around. That's okay. It's not necessarily a sign that things are going real well with your meditation, but it's okay for you to see that. It doesn't mean anything. And so your concentration is on your posture. So if your shoulders start to slump forward, it probably means your spine is not in the right position. So you straighten your spine. Of course, you want to keep the curves in your spine, but your like tailbone sinks down with gravity. And then you stretch the top of your neck up, like you try to touch the ceiling and keep trying to touch it. And then that's basically it. So you don't hold any unnecessary tension. And then that's basically it. But there can be a bunch of questions, and there can be a lot of different corrections. And then in your mind, so why concentrate your posture? Well, you're concentrating your posture, and you're also you're looking at your Tantian, with your mind, not your eyes. Although we'll just stick with that, with your mind and not your eyes. So why do that? So when we're meditating, all kinds of thoughts are going to come up, right? There's going to be all kinds. Oh, I forgot to pay my credit card bill. Rent's due. Oh man, car problems. Oh man, I can't believe I said that to that guy. I shouldn't have done that. All kinds of thoughts are going to be popping up. This is stupid. All kinds of thoughts will be popping up. And so what happens, when we normally think about something that makes us mad, we start having a physical reaction. If we're telling a story that makes us mad, we're going to be probably acting it out some way with our bodies, right? Oh, I can't believe he did this. And, you're moving around like you're about to be in a real fight when you're just talking about something like that made you mad. Your body's going to be making these gestures, without you even thinking about it. So when we're sitting and we're just concentrating our posture, when those things come up, these stories that made us mad, our posture doesn't change. Also, I forgot to mention, you keep your tongue on your palate, like behind your teeth, and then like your jaw relaxed, your teeth aren't touching. That's another key element. Anyways, so you're concentrating on all of this, on the posture, while all these thoughts are coming, okay? And then, over time, you're learning how to not have a physical reaction to these events that happened. And you're also learning how to not have a physical reaction to the things that happen in whatever present moment that you're in. Okay, so if you're in a situation and somebody's mad, I'll give an example. So besides, I've mentioned this on the air a ton of times, but I'm a strength and conditioning instructor, have my own gym, and I also work at a factory. I work from 5 a.m. to 1 p.m., Monday through Friday. Sometimes I go in even at 3 a.m. and work until 1, and then I have clients at the gym in the afternoons and evenings. So we'll get to work, and I work with some cool guys, and but there is something that I noticed, and I know that some might even be listening to this, but I'll get there and it's 3 a.m. or it's 5 a.m, and I work mainly on this machine with a couple other guys. And so almost without fail, one of them or both of them will start complaining about something. Second shift didn't do this. Second shift did that. Oh, this thing. Oh, this order. Oh, God, this order. Oh, this or and just right away. And I don't participate in it. I can say that I have never complained about what second shift did there. I don't care. Or I don't care. Maybe it's not that I don't care, but it's that I don't let it affect me. So I get the same amount of money whether I'm mad or not. So I'm not mad. I'm not mad there. I'm not frustrated. And I don't complain about anything. There's nothing that I complain about there. And I try not to complain about anything anywhere. Sometimes it's okay if we have a legit complaint and we need to bring it to a manager or something like that. But what I'm talking about is just the nonsense. People get worked up over nothing, really. Because they get the same amount of money. They're not expected to work twice as hard. They're not expected to do anything else. This is the amount of money that you get. Here's the amount of hours that we're going to be here. And just, what's the big deal, really? To me, it's not a big deal. So I don't give them a hard time. Like one of the guys is, it's funny how, a little bit like self-aware, aware of the other, because they'll, one of them will like mention how the other one starts complaining right away. But he was complaining too. And I just kind of like nod my head, and I don't engage in that conversation. Doesn't go anywhere with me. I don't engage in it. And it's not like I think I'm like just somehow like beyond this thing. And in another way, I do think I am. Everybody has strengths. That they're going to be better at some things than I am, and I'm better at some things than they are. That's just the way it is. That's okay. So what I see is like, okay, somehow they're like suffering, and like a lot of what they're complaining about maybe doesn't have so much to do with what they're complaining about. Maybe it's something's going on at home, and instead of complaining about whatever they have going on at home, they're complaining about whatever it is that's in front of them at the moment. So I don't really say anything about it. I just let it go and let it kind of just let it go. So when we have these situations come up that make us mad, and we can practice the Zen meditation, then we get better and better at not having those reactions. It can take a while. This isn't something like, I practiced for, a solid month, and man, have I noticed a huge difference. You might notice a huge difference in a month, for sure. I would say you could, but keep going. Keep going. And then if you notice yourself getting mad easy, do more of that. And, like there's the saying, like if you don't have, like you should meditate for 30 minutes a day. And if you don't have time, then you should meditate for an hour. And I think there's some truth to that. And I don't, to be quite honest, I don't do a lot of sitting meditation these days. I was teaching classes. When I quit teaching the classes, or when I was doing the classes rather, we would sit and meditate for 2 minutes at the end of every strength and conditioning class. This included the kids class. So some of the times when I was teaching the kids class, they would read a story at the end. One of the kids would read an ancient story from somewhere around the world, and then at the end, would meditate for like 1 minute, or sometimes it got to be even less than that. Take the time to read a short story, and then even meditating for like 20 seconds or 10 seconds just to end on the right note. So when we're in, so when I talk about sorry if I'm little jumbled up. I was recording just a little bit ago, and then my neighbor knocked on the door, wanted to tell me something, and so I stopped and I redid the recording. So hopefully I don't repeat anything. But so what I think of is like, what I do is like a walking Zen, or like the Tao of like chop wood, carry water. And I heard Alan Watts in this audiobook that I have from the library. He had a pretty good explanation, I believe, of what that actually means. He used a couple different examples, like when you're hungry, eat. When you're thirsty, drink, I think is what he used. But what he says it means is not just simply when you're hungry, eat, but when you're eating, just focus on what you're doing when you're eating. Just focus on eating. And when you're drinking, just focus on the drinking. So like when you're eating, don't be focusing on like your credit card bill and what that guy that cut you off on the highway or whatever. And so this is the kind of Zen that I practice mostly. It's like I try to do it all the time, literally all the time. And so I think I'm, pretty good at it, and I could get better. I think I'm pretty good at not having a physical reaction to stuff. And I was telling a story yesterday. Probably get more into it later. I met with someone who's going to be on the podcast soon. And I'll just say that story for when she comes on. But I went and talked with her for a while yesterday. So when we have our... so the name of this episode is called A Place for Contentment. And whether it's relationship, career, hobbies. And so in a relationship, like, should you be content? Okay, so, and what does it mean if you're not? Well, this can be really tricky, because I don't think we should look at our partners and just try to scan them and look at a list of problems that we have. And I think this is commonly what happens. And I've, be around these couples or hear them at the store, and they're just bickering about nothing. They're just picking at each other, and they get mad over the littlest things. You see that, and it's like, God, that looks miserable. Why would you want to be in that situation? So I think when we're looking at our partner, if they're not doing something major, like, cheating on you or lying or these kind of things, then maybe deal with the problems that you have in your own mind. And this is something that I've tried to do in relationships where I'm not the one bringing up issues. If something happens that I don't like, well, I just look into why I don't like it. And usually I can just solve it in my own mind without making it into a real problem that we have fights about. I think I'm pretty good at that. And there's even with friends. And so there was a friend that I have, and we kind of sort of dated for a little while, and then that ended, and then I ended up with someone else, and then this friend of mine, she, I guess you could say, expressed some regret, because it was her idea for us to quit seeing each other, because she had all this other stuff going on. And I was like, okay. And then, when I'm with somebody else, then she's, we're talking, she started crying and saying that, she wished she would have given us more of a chance. And by that time I was already moving on. I was already somewhere else. And I did not regret the decision to go on to something else. But her and I stayed friends. And we've been to a few concerts together. Okay, so I think she was late. I think we've been to 3, and she was late for 2 out of 3 of them. So she's perpetually late. She's late to everything. And if she's listening, then, well, she knows it. But that's just how it is. So when I go to a concert, especially if it's kind of a big deal, I'll usually get the best tickets that I can get. I don't spend money on a lot of different entertainment things. So when I do something, I try to do the best I can. So I got these seats, second row, just barely off center, basically, in center orchestra. I think literally 2 or 3 seats off center. And it wasn't like they were crazy expensive. They were $65 each. It was for Zakir Hussain. It was an awesome concert. But so I get the tickets, way ahead of time, several like months ahead of time. And so I asked her if she wanted to go because I know she likes that kind of music, and she said that she's definitely wants to go, and she'll make sure that she gets that time off of work. And I'm like, okay, cool. And so I know that she's always late. I mean, when I say always, I mean pretty much always. So it gets a little bit closer. Maybe we're a month out, and I send her a message and like, oh, looking forward to it. Just reminding you, it's coming up. And she's like, okay, I'll make sure I get the time off of work. I'll make sure I'll say get me off the schedule then tomorrow. I'm like, okay. And then it gets a little bit closer, a couple weeks away. I talk to her about it again. She's like, oh yeah, I have to get that time off of work. And then it gets a little bit closer, and then she says she has to work and that she's going to be late. I'm like, okay. Well, it seemed like she might be able to get there like right on time. But I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go and I will meet you in the seats then. And so I gave her ticket. I paid for it. And, then she shows up like a half hour late or something like that. And it's like, I didn't miss any of the show. I was slightly distracted through a little bit of it because like she shows up and she's like wondering where she should park. And so she's texting me while the concert's starting, and it's like messing with my phone. I don't want to be messing with my phone. I want to be watching this concert that I paid $130 for. And she finally comes in, and I don't act like I'm mad at all. I'm like, oh, glad you're here. Good to see you. And because I don't want to spend my time being mad about it. I don't want to spend my time arguing with her about it. I don't want to spend my time making her feel bad about it. I don't want to spend my time venting until now. No, I'm not trying to like really vent right now. What I'm trying to do is make a point about contentment and whether we should be or not. So after the concert, we, go eat somewhere, and I wasn't really considering it a date. And like, so I paid for the food. I think, she's having a little money troubles, I think. So I paid for the food. She paid for the tip, and, whatever. And so it's like, well, now what? So now there's like, so I still consider her a friend. But do you think I'm going to pay for another concert? I took her to another concert that I paid $150 per ticket. And she made us late. Not real late, but it had already started by the time we got there. So then I knew that, okay, if I want her to meet at 6:30, then I should tell her that I want to meet at 6. And then she can be her half hour late, and we'll still be on time, my time. Hopefully, well, now I hope she isn't listening because I just gave away one of my secrets. So, but I don't see ever, no, I shouldn't say ever, but I don't want to ask her to go to another concert and pay for it. So why did I pay for it? So I bought the tickets before I even asked her. So, or maybe I didn't. I bought them after she said she would go. I don't remember. I don't get too worried about that. Although maybe I should be a little bit. But now it's like there's some concerts coming up that I want to go to. And I don't want to be late. I like being early. I like getting my spot. Some of them, of course, we have like paying for the specific seats. But I don't know what makes people just late all the time. I've been late to stuff too, so it's not like I have this perfect track record of being on time. But so we can be, so the zen in that situation that I'm trying to get across is when she shows up to the concert, I'm not huffing and puffing and trying to be mad or passive aggressive or anything. She shows up, hi, glad to hear it, good to see you. And I don't mention her being late at all. And I still haven't. And so that's good for me, and it's good for her, right? So that takes like some training to get to that point. But now, no. And so, where was I going with that? Okay, so, but going ahead in the future, so like being content, I'm not going to be content with that happening all the time now. Okay, so it's happened like 2 out of 3 times, and yeah, I don't see that happening anymore. So there's something about like wiping the slate clean. So this was somebody I mentioned we dated kind of for a little while. And then, so what's going on when we're hanging out? Sometimes it seemed like something might like spark up again, but then I don't really want that, and I don't know that she would either. But it's like I'm not gonna go along with that, and I'm not gonna try to talk myself into accepting that. So what about being content in other ways? So like with yesterday, I put a couple 1-minute clips of my guitar playing on Instagram, and my Instagram is @Hadley Fitness, HADLEY Fitness. And the first song I played it's called Romanza. It's written by some anonymous person from, I think, over 100 years ago in some Spanish classical guitar. I messed up a couple times. It's one of my favorite old like Spanish guitar pieces. It just sounds really nice, and I was kind of like just hacking my way through it. I hadn't played my guitar in a while, and so when I posted on Instagram, it's like it's not because I'm so proud of my performance. It's like, here it is. It's okay, but it was frustrating, and I even complained about the microphone on my phone. The microphone on my phone didn't even help, and so you can tell just by reading that I was kind of frustrated by it. And then I played a song that I wrote several years ago, and I was a lot more content about that one. Even though maybe it wasn't flawless, it was pretty close enough, and I was content with that, and I like it, and it's mine. And so with the guitar playing, like if you want to get better, you have to like push yourself and play the stuff that's hard. Your fingers have a hard time doing it. It's hard to remember this part to that part. This transition is hard, and it's, you want to have those kinds of things where you're challenging yourself, and you don't want to just be playing the same things that are easy for you all the time. You're not going to get better at that. So as far as being content with your playing, man, you're kind of better off not being content with it. So when I'm looking at things like, okay, you want to be content with other people to a point, and you want to be not content with yourself to a point. It's a funny balance that we have, and sometimes things add up where we can no longer remain content. But with the guitar playing, I really want to get better, and that's just what you have to do. I've been playing for a long time. I got to where I was pretty good, and then I guess I'm still okay. I just really want to practice more. I'm not content with not playing. And so with our like careers and our professions, which could be a different thing, right? I mean, it's kind of the same thing, but it could be different. So like as a profession, I'm a strength and conditioning instructor. I'm good. I've been doing it for 20 years. I know my stuff. I'm still excited to learn. I still I spend a fair amount of time on Instagram scrolling through stuff and seeing who's doing what. I'm studying different people. I'm mainly studying like one guy in particular, David Weck. He's been on the podcast, and he's really somebody to study right now. And so I'm studying what he's doing, and it never gets old for me. And I'm constantly like looking at martial arts stuff. Like I train with, I have like two main training partners right now. There's another buddy of mine that's going to start training again, it sounds like. And sometimes I go to classes. I started jiu-jitsu a long time ago, and we do punching, kicking, everything. But when we have like a profession, we want to be able to have, so it's like, yes, I am good enough. I deserve to get paid this amount. I'm well worth it, because if you do what I'm showing you, you will get great results. And I know that, and I'm 100% confident in what I'm saying and what I'm teaching. And I am also not content with the level that I'm on, because I know that I can improve. I know that I can get better. So I do not feel bad at all accepting people's money for my training. But I can't even get my mind around like being so complacent that I'm not studying anymore, or to think I already have it all figured out. Yes, I've already proven that just with what I do and what I've done, people can get amazing results. But to just like sit on that and think, okay, that's all you need to do. All I need to know is, I just can't even imagine getting to that position where I'm done learning. And so, what could be the difference between when I said the profession and a career? I don't know if that's really the distinction that I want to dig too deep into, but to me, like I don't think I'm going to like try to sort that out. I was thinking like profession, like I don't think I'm going to dig into that. There's too many, like it's too subtle, I think, to bother with at the moment. So for our gym, so I have a gym, my partner with the gym is Valery Fedorenko, world champion kettlebell lifter, arguably one of the best kettlebell lifters ever. And so I've learned from him, and we're sharing this space. And the gym is just over a month old now. It's so cool. And where I was training before, I've trained at a couple different places. I've taught workshops at several places, and I've had this thing in my mind where like the current gym, that's the place where things can fall into, right? Like say like, oh, things all fell into place. Well, what place? I didn't really feel like they could fall into place anywhere else when I'm at somebody else's gym. I've trained at some cool places that I liked and really had no real complaints with, except that they were not mine. And then some places like drove me crazy. Maybe the music drove me crazy. And seeing, honestly, what other trainers were doing drove me crazy. And just some things that just bothered me. But what it came down to mostly was it just wasn't mine. And so now I have my place. And even though I share it, it's still ours. I can do whatever I want. He can do whatever he wants. We're going to do stuff together. It's really cool. It's awesome what we have going on. But this is the place where things can fall into. So I'll be able to do what I want, my way. And one of the things that to me is key is like, so when you go into some place, it's like the atmosphere. What's the atmosphere in this place? And, like the last place I was training, a lot of people loved it. They thought it was great. But to me, it's like, the music is too loud. And I usually don't like the music. I can't stand like pop music or rap. And so it'd be hard to concentrate. I'm trying to like tell my clients something. What? Music is loud. I don't think music should be loud when you're trying to coach someone. Other people like it, fine. That's okay. But so at my current place, the music will not be loud. We'll play music. I have really good taste in music. I play awesome music from all over the world. And clients can play their own music if they want, if they have a request of some channel or whatever. We can do that. That's okay. If they want to bring their phone in and play from their phone, that's cool with me. And it won't be loud. You'll be able to hear me talking. I won't have to yell. And it just makes for a different environment. And it's one where I think people can get more out of themselves. I can get more out of myself. I think I can coach better. I think I was doing a pretty good job before, and now it feels even better. I remember like my first like session or two there, and it felt like a little awkward at first. It took me just like a couple sessions to get used to it, and then it's like, oh great, oh this is so great. Don't have this noise. And other people like the loud music, fine. I don't. It's so distracting. And I think it keeps people from getting results. People don't have to agree. That's okay. That's why free to do my own thing. Everybody's free to do their own thing. And so like another thing about this place is like if I'm talking to potential clients, people want to come in. One thing that I wanted was a coffee maker, a Keurig coffee maker. And so when people come in, if you want to have a cup of coffee, have a cup of tea, talk about your goals, or if people want to just kind of like, or I can have like a couple friends to just like hang out, maybe like show a little bit about what we've been doing lately. We can do that too. It's like I don't know, I'm a big fan of coffee. I'm drinking coffee right now, and or like tea. There's just something about that. So that's how I wanted this place to be, a place where people can kind of like relax and, be themselves, get more out of themselves, work on themselves in this way without a bunch of distractions. So this new gym, it's really exciting to me, and it's been going really well. It's just amazing how things work out sometimes. So when I'm reading through my notes here. With the relationships, getting back to that, like the grass is always greener is something that I wrote down. And it's like when we've been in these relationships, sometimes we're looking at somebody else, we're scrolling through Instagram, and oh, that couple, all they do is play around in the sunset at the beach, and all they do is have these great times. Perfect. They're so perfect. But they don't record their battles, and I'd like to think people can have relationships without battles. I've had my last I guess several have been without battles, going back over a long time. There's no real fighting. If there's like discussions that get, somewhat emotional or something. It's not like battle is just not the way to explain it at all. So, but I think maybe that is part of like what leads to some of this like discontent that we carry. Like we're looking at our partner and they're not as good as that other person's partner. But then there's that point where enough's enough. And you're better off with someone else. And so now, like something else that I wrote down was the clean slate, which I mentioned earlier, I think. It's like my current situation, like if you hear some of my podcasts from before, I was, talking about like current state of whatever relationship, often a past relationship or a maybe relationship or one that seemed to be kind of on and off and confusing. And now I'm at this point where it's like the slate is clean. I don't have anyone that I'm kind of seeing. There's no one that that I have that kind of relationship with. Those ones that I was talking about before have all like came to an end. So I'm very, I guess, content with how they ended. And so it's kind of like this weird spot. So I don't know that I know of anyone who I am interested in like that. Maybe I did meet someone who I'm interested in like that. But nothing is going and nothing is... It's an interesting space to go from all of this, like with the one in particular, not the one that I was talking about yet on this show, but one that I've described before as we were seeing each other and it seemed like we might see each other again. That's the way I was describing her. That was able to like finally put the bookends on that one. Can still be friends, but now I'm not like engaging in this maybe so, maybe not thing anymore. And what got me to that point was, if you listen to the show regularly, you may remember I did a show on starting a new program. That's what it was called. And so I was talking about, mental programs. I talked about a little bit about like exercise program, but also like our mental programs. Pour a little more coffee here. And so what happened was one of my programs, which I've repeated since, was I was the one that was paying for everything. And we were getting takeout like almost every week. Maybe there'd be a couple weeks in a row and then not 1 week, a week in a row or two in a row, and then not for a couple weeks. But it was happening regularly. And I sent her a message and I tried to be kind of like funny, and I wanted to make sure I wasn't trying to come off as mad or anything, but I said, well, I was like, I just did this show on these programs, these patterns, and one thing that I've been doing is I'm the one that pays for carry out every time, and these are not like extravagant meals. They're like $13 a piece, right? And so I guess this struck her in awkward way or something, and she's like, what? She's like, we get carry out maybe once every other month. And she's like, maybe you're like stressing because you're making less money now, which wasn't true. I wasn't making less money. I just made a transition. I wasn't making less, but she's like, maybe you're making less money now, so you're stressing about money, or, but she said something like, we only get carry out every other month. I'm like, what? It's like, we get carry out almost every week. And she's like, well, maybe it's every other week. I'm like, oh man. And so it goes on, the response was not what I wanted. And what I was asking was, can we make it more even? And it doesn't have to be even like we're like really keeping track of dollars and cents, but more even than I do everything. Okay. More even than that. And that was, I'm not sure how long ago it was. I think it was a couple months ago. And haven't seen her since. We've messaged a little bit, talked about hanging out, and I'm not against hanging out, but like it seemed like she would say like she was interested, in a relationship. She was the first one to bring it up back like a year ago, and then it was like maybe yes, no, maybe. Back and forth, up and down, in and out. And then like I was saying something like, I thought that we were like at one of those on points. And then apparently I was wrong. And she made it seem like, I don't know, it was just hard. It's hard to explain. But I'm like, but you're just saying this. And I was like, you're not consistent. She's like, I never claimed to be consistent with you. I'm like, okay, well, I know when to just like wipe my hands. I'm like, all right, I give up. I'm not playing that game I'm not playing that game anymore. I don't need everything to be perfect, but there's only so much guy can do. And this thing's about like handling things in our own mind, which is what I was doing. And sometimes we talk ourselves into accepting things that we shouldn't also. It gets tough. It gets so complicated. And like this one ex of mine, we don't talk very much anymore, but sometimes we might. And like she was like kind of sort of seeing someone else, and which I don't care. And but he seemed like I could kind of like I could see what was going on. Like he was, I don't know how much to say, but basically I said like, oh, he sounds really weak and feminine. And then her response is, she takes a little while to respond, and she's like, well, basically I'm right. So not that like feminine is a bad thing. Like she said something, she was like saying like weak, we associate like weak with feminine. I was like, no, it's like, it's not like associating weak with feminine, but you don't want your dude to be feminine. And like, I mean, people can think different things here, and so if a woman is feminine, it doesn't mean she's weak. She could be very strong and feminine, and like strong mentally or physically or whatever. And to be female and to be like weak isn't somehow a virtue, or but it doesn't mean like she's masculine, which is, I'm not going to get too far into the weeds with that. That's something that her and I have kind of discussed, because she said something about like her masculine side, and like, you're not masculine at all. That's not masculine. It's just strong feminine, which may be something that we've kicked around the idea of her coming on the podcast and talking about it. these ideas, but I'm not sure if that'll happen or not. But so there's something about this being content, but you don't want to be a pushover. You don't want to just be a rug for somebody to walk all over. It's very, very complicated. But now that I have like this clean slate, and now when whoever it is pops into my life, I don't feel like I have any kind of like baggage to deal with from anyone that I was like, had like these maybes going before, which, I've never been one to date more than one woman at a time. Never. I've never cheated on a woman. And I've never tried to even date two girls at the same time, even at the very beginning. And it's just not something I've ever done. But say there was someone who I might have been like kind of seeing but still friends with, and then this new relationship pops up. Well, there's still some residual things in the air, maybe. Like, why are you still talking to this person? Oh, it's cool, we're just friends. Really? And even though she may trust me, her ex-husband was saying something like that, and he was actually cheating. So I call those ghosts. So like when we have a reaction to someone that's really a reaction to someone from before, I call those ghosts. But anyways, I'm going to start to wrap this up. I'm going to do another, let's see, this Kahlil Gibran book looks good. So the first thing I turned to here it's from that same book I mentioned earlier, Kahlil Gibran's Little Book of Love, put together by Neil Douglas Klotz. Friendship is always a sweet responsibility, never an opportunity. If you do not understand your friend under all conditions, you will never understand him. Are you talking to me? What was that? Wait. It's funny what we turn to sometimes. Let's flip through. Alone. It's getting kind of dark here. I have my lights off. It's, I don't know what time it is, but it's starting to get towards dark. It's Sunday night, and Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day. I know by the time you hear this, it's probably not Mother's Day, but every day should be Mother's Day. So happy Mother's Day. I'm looking out my window right now, and a little light from outside is still coming in. So that's what I'm reading by. I'm going to read a couple more things here. We were fluttering, wondering, I'm going to start over. Longing beyond words. We were fluttering, wandering, longing creatures, 1,000 years before the sea and the wind and the forest gave us words. Now, how can we express the ancient of days in us with only the sounds of our yesterdays? The Sphinx spoke only once, and the Sphinx said, a grain of sand is a desert, and a desert is a grain of sand. And now let us all be silent again. Ooh, that's good. Next one. Alone. Alone? And what of it? You came alone, and alone shall you pass into the mist. Therefore drink your cup alone and in silence. The autumn days have given other lips of other cups and filled them with wine. bitter and sweet, even as they have filled your cup. Drink your cup alone, though it tastes of your own blood and tears, and praise life for the gift of thirst. For without thirst, your heart is but the shore of a barren sea, songless and without a tide. Unsealing the heart. How shall my heart be unsealed unless it be broken? Oh, great sorrow or great joy can reveal. Only great sorrow or great joy can reveal your truth. If you would be revealed, you must either dance naked in the sun or carry your cross. Oh, I'm a big fan of Kahlil Gibran. Speaking and listening to the heart. The voice of life in me cannot reach the ear of life in you, but let us talk that we may not feel lonely. Sorry, I messed that up. The voice of life in me cannot reach the ear of life in you, but let us talk that we may not feel lonely. Should one tell a lie that does not hurt you nor anyone else? Why not say in your heart that the house of facts is too small for his fancies, and he had to leave it for a larger space? A great person has two hearts, one bleeds, and the other only forbears. The reality of other people is not in what they reveal to you, but in what they cannot reveal to you. Therefore, if you would understand them, listen not to what they say, but rather what they do not say. That's a good one, right? And that's kind of what I was trying to talk about earlier. Those were all read randomly. I flipped to a page and just read a few in a row. Like these guys at work that might be complaining about something, and instead of, whatever. Yeah. Let's see. How about one more and then we'll wrap it up. All our relationships. Love has many faces, many ways to play hide and seek. Those whom we call family, friends, strangers, and enemies all reveal the fingers of one loving hand. The next one is Paige's mother, so we'll do one more. I have no idea what this is going to say. But we'll end our Mother's Day show with this one, Mother. Mother, the most beautiful word on the lips of humanity is the word mother, and the most beautiful call is the call of my mother. It is a word full of hope and love, a sweet and kind word coming from the depths of the heart. The mother is everything. She is our consolation in sorrow, our hope in misery, and our strength in weakness. She is the source of love, mercy, sympathy, and forgiveness. Everything in nature speaks of the mother. The sun is the mother of earth and gives it its nourishment of heat. It never leaves the universe at night until it has put the earth to sleep, to the song of the sea and the hymn of birds and brooks. And this earth is the mother of trees and flowers. It produces them, nurses them, and weans them. The trees and flowers become kind mothers of their great fruits and seeds. And the mother, the prototype of all existence, is the eternal spirit, full of beauty and love. The word mother is hidden in our hearts, and it comes upon our lips in hours of sorrow and happiness, just as perfume comes from the heart of the rose and mingles with both clear and cloudy air. Thank you for tuning in. See you next time. Happy Mother's Day.